I'm doing this reading for personal reasons regarding integrating the work that was learned from this week prior, the week of the 3rd of October 2025. If you are watching this video timelessly, then I really hope that you gain something from the experience of it. Please excuse my general wear as well. I was in the middle of house chores and just felt called to, I paused and then felt called to pick up my movement again by doing a reading first. These are very interesting times. Energetically, it is I feel as though on a collective energetic level, we are seeing a blueprint of reality that is extremely unique right now. And I'm feeling that it has very specific links to the fact that we essentially have a visitation in our solar system right now. That's the first time I'm calling it that, but that is what it feels like. The more I keep up with its movements and the more I sit with its strange characteristics. If you haven't already heard of me yapping loudly about it, there is currently an interstellar object in our skies called 3i Atlas. I will post videos that I've watched collecting facts about it in the description of this reading. And as of the 3rd of October, to my understanding, I'll correct in the description if it is that I'm incorrect about this, but the way I understand it is that it is right now, it has made closest impact to one of the planets in our solar system, Mars, in tropical Scorpio. I would say, though, that I haven't checked what sign this is in sidereal, but I'm pretty sure that it's in Libra, which is, I think, to highlight the very things under a cloak and then that big reveal, the bubbling, the extreme bubbling up of something that has been pressed down for a very, very long time. That's what I'm feeling is part of the uniqueness of this time that we're in, or this time you may be in as you watch this, whenever it is that you're watching this. Right now, on a global, in real time, a global revealing is coming to the surface. I actually did a reading before this, and I'm only bringing it here because it feels relevant. This fell out, Justice. And the Emperor. I've mentioned this via X that I love how David Clements refers to this reality that's breaking down right now as the control paradigm. Because up until now, a huge chunk of history has been functioning on the extremes, essentially on the Emperor in reverse. With this card, with Justice, and with this upright, it's as if very naturally this turned upright. And this is this gaining of assertiveness, of an acknowledgement of your influence over your reality, other people, the strict alignment to what you want, not as something that you thought would happen externally, but as like an awakening happening within you that was overdue, long overdue. I keep having to emphasize this in my readings, that this process of self-awakening and gaining control of your sovereignty is very painful when coming from a world in which any sign of doing that was treated as a crime, essentially, was thrown at with shame, which is another thing that has been coming up a lot for me during this past week, is work with shame, knowing which kinds of shame, because I know that I've been looking at the scales, the balancing of shame, how in some cases shame is actually useful. so that you can know which parts of yourself need to evolve, more for the collective and your external experience, not so much for your internal, because internally you can stay the same all you want. But once you want to exercise your free will and externalize and exist and use your ego, that's when shame becomes an issue. And it's been weaponized, and I think we all know this now. It's been weaponized as a form of control for a lot of our lives. So things are coming correct, which we can be really excited about, but which we're struggling to feel. This was a personal reading, so you're getting all my tea now. I also got the Page of Rods with the Eight of Swords beneath the deck. These two energies together are very the first thing I'm getting with this is the frequency of victimhood and how that's what's happening. This coupled with shame, they all have a common shelf in my emotional space. And I've been clearing out the shelf, basically, dusting everything, realizing that a lot of the dirt that's there, I could have just cleaned it up, I mentioned this in, I think, 2 readings prior, that I just, because of the emotional weight that I have been running my life with, because of how sensitive I experience life, sensitively I experience life, my tendency to slip into victimhood was the first thing that I would turn to a lot of the time. And it really didn't need to happen that way. And I was creating a frequency I was projecting a very low frequency into my aura, and essentially attracting things and experiences and perceptions from people, strangers, people I love, that were really unwelcomed. A lot of that is being worked on right now. I think in patches collectively, but the greater collective is just working on this. We are really, I feel like we're all, I think that some level of witnessing the fall of like a very covert totalitarian way of ruling, witnessing this on a global scale, I feel is awakening these parts of sovereignty within us. I hope it's not creating panic in your direct environment. I know that there may be plenty that are in a lot of hopeless stress right now. I also received these 2 cards, which I think is also very collective, as this is what we're generally working on, and as I hope we are now standing in front of, at least in terms of existing in our truth. Maybe the feelings of abundance aren't easily accessible because of the environment, right? It's dark, it's cavey. This is very underworld. The vibes are very underworldy right now, very dark, shadowy, loss of control. But we're gaining it. I, of course, will put all of these back and reshuffle, but I feel like the cards that fell out before I did this are very relevant to the vibe right now. These cards together are very beautiful, very, very positive omen. What I've been also getting is an extension of what I said last week, which was regarding the fact that a lot of our success is waiting for us to meet it through just feeling like it's arrived. It's annoying, honestly, to me at this point to constantly have to revisit and learn how to reapply almost from scratch the understanding that the external world is a reflection of an internal world. But it is the truth. It's the truth that our awareness even on subconscious levels, unfortunately, influence the unfolding of our external world. I think that maybe as well what people may be at risk of getting confused about is how far our influence over our external world goes. And I think that has obviously been a problem, right? With today's world, that has been a common problem, is that people have tried to gain control of the other's free will, harness energy in as many desperate, evil ways as possible. That paradigm, as David Clements mentioned, I'll also link that interview in the description, that control paradigm has to die. There will be no space for it. I think this is actually what he said as well in his interview with Pam. There's literally no room for the control paradigm in this new world that's coming. I'm seeing it tapering off of the main body of existence very slowly, so that for a while it will seem as though evil reigns, the shadow wins, the shadow, the devil, It will seem very much like that energy body of fear is bigger and more powerful than our influence. But it's never been true. And it's going to start becoming a matter of fact about this reality. When I tell you love wins over fear, when I tell you love is powerful, it's a powerful machine with which you can literally control all of life if you know how to use it and configure it correctly within your body and your feeling center. When I tell you this, it's going to start becoming less and less like are you sure? It's most certainly the truth. Most certainly. And any single thing you do with as much love feelings as possible in your body as you're carrying it out will bloom like the way flowers do when it's springtime or whatever seasons that some specific flowers bloom in, you know? So long as you're existing in your truest authenticity frequency, which is love. When you are enlightened, you are in love. You are in love. Love is enlightenment. Love is the truth. Love is the constant. You know? Love is God. God is love. Jesus is love. You know, we've known. It's the truth, the scientific truth. There are illusions, I feel, huge, really effective, powerful ones that with the way that I'm seeing everything and feeling everything unfolding has been planned for so many years at this point. A huge body of fear and delusion that is taking control, I believe, at its last efforts to keep alive. I think we're all saying the same thing at this point, that there's a huge beast that's losing control and it's desperate to stay in control. So it's going to do more crazy things and cause more crazy waves and impulses of chaos into the collective energy grid. I feel the frequency that everybody's predicting in terms of when they see the future, they're feeling a war coming and da-da-da-da. That is why I also emphasized in a previous channeling I did that as much as it is totally possible and in some ways likely that there's war and a whole shift in like the survival mode frequency of our life, it's not something like this. It's something like this. Do you feel me? It's like we're looking at it. It's equal to us. We can do this. We can tackle it, you know? We can do anything. We're protected. Do you understand? By these forces that have no words that you can't by love. Do you understand? The point is that it's true. That's what I feel is so major right now. These waves of disillusionment and chaos are there, I believe. And I believe you can use this even if you don't feel it true. If you start affirming it within your experience, it's going to change your experience. That there is a very huge chance that the chaos that unfolds in your life happens as an act to strengthen your relationship with love in your life, with whatever your equilibrium of love is. You know what it is, you have it in your body. It feels like the machine is churning aggressively to keep reminding us that, so that we can strengthen that muscle, which is another thing I've said. A lot of themes are coming cyclically, full circle. A lot of completions, as was predicted to come with this month, specifically with the oncoming of Scorpio season. I tweeted as well that there's something about Scorpionics in 8th house energies and Neptunians, 12th house, Pisces, Aquarius. In some ways Capricorn, but more for the purely earth sense. Those signs previously mentioned, Aquarius and the water signs, Pisces, Scorpio, 12th, whatever. Those signs are, I think, on the spiritual, there are spiritual culminations happening for the feely groups of people. And I feel like Capricorn, Taurus, and the earth signs, the earth signs are really coming into their earthy, that culmination. I unfortunately wouldn't really understand what it might be like for air signs and fire signs because I'm not, I actually don't think I have a full position to even say. I haven't experienced that in my direct reality. The reason I'm mentioning those before is because I've seen it as a pattern, which is beautiful. So congratulations. Especially to Capricorn placements. I've seen a lot of success coming for you all for the whole year, actually. And Geminis. I can feel I went on a tangent there. I think that's all that I had to say. I think I'm ready to pull cards now, see what they have to say. And then generally hope to God, even just for myself, because I do watch my readings. I do watch back often and sometimes just pick a random one. I hope you can take your power seriously now and really understand the value of you and the work you've done. I feel like I want to say more, but I'm going to leave that there and see what the cards have to say. I get the sense that they're going to lead me right back to what I've just tried to, what I've just spoke on. I'm also feeling really good, just by the way. And I hope that I hope that's the same for you. And I know that I'm in this position of feeling really good because I have been working very, very hard. Just like I tried to say to to me, to you, to all of us. I really don't even know how to explain how powerful it is to work with, hello Peter, to walk your life with like a mustard seed of faith and to keep watering it, even if you don't know when that plant will grow, when the seed will sprout. You just keep going. You just keep telling yourself somehow something's going to work from this. And even still, nothing happens, but you know in your inner truth something will happen. Being able to follow your inner North Star like that is the exact frequency that it takes to become a master of your reality. Yeah, that's actually the only phrase I have for it. To be able to watch things bend to your will. You know? The future that we are building for ourselves through the work that we've been doing. I've said it before, it is truly incomprehensible what's coming for us because of the energy work we've been focused on. It's amazing. I have the King of Cups. Sorry. I want the picture to be clear. I appreciate how Stella Conway illustrated all of these cards. She did a really brilliant job. And the symbols of each card really do count. I'm going to sit with that as I shuffle more. Wow. So I received again. And again, I mean, by again, I mean from the last reading, I also received, I think it was like 4 cards in reverse. So we have Death, the Death card in reverse, the Devil in reverse, and the Chariot in reverse. I'm getting the sense, so all of these 3 cards, just looking at them, is exactly the frequency I was talking about regarding this great beast that has been in power for a very long time and is no longer used to not being in power anymore, and is doing everything it can to grip tightly to its control over whatever reality it has crafted for itself. This may be a narcissist who is acting out in your direct community, in your own life, or this may be the frequency of extreme depression, doubt, fear, disempowerment, victimhood within you that is developing during the time that you're watching this. It may be possible that you are, it's feeling likely internal though. While those external factors may be happening, it's feeling like you yourself are having a tough time staying stable and balanced during what feels like a very chaotic time. Yeah. I'm feeling a sense of upheaval. Just an emotional, where it's like one thing after the other, you know? And that one thing after the other is making you feel very extremely emotionally vulnerable right now. And like you need people. I'm feeling into that a lot. And I was feeling that of someone I love too, where she was just kind of relaying the experience of how life just feels like an on and on. It's not feeling very... The sentence that keeps repeating itself is, why would I come here? Why would I incarnate here? Earth is ghetto, you know? That idea. I feel like tapping into the Devil in reverse to see, because these 2 cards have the same frequency to them of needing to, of mishandling influence, mishandling willpower, and being manipulative, trying to dodge very necessary experiences, growth spurts, actions maybe. Like the energy of, no, this cannot go that way. The energy of, the energy of a child during a tantrum who was so sure that something would happen in the way that they want, but it's not happening in the way that they want, and they're breaking down because of it, you know? That's that frequency, these 2 cards together. So in that breakdown, they're manipulative, they're projecting, they're trying to control other people's wills and ways of thinking. They're trying to be, manipulative is the operative word here. Lots of incorrect energy manipulation feels present right now. Complete lack of surrender, an insistence, in fact, to not surrender. No surrender. That's what this vibe is here. Absolutely not. Over my dead body. Very domineering. Misuse of power. This card in reverse speaks of paradox, a side of the psyche that is actually the way through to the light. Breaking free of old habits of pessimism and negativity by allowing in different perceptions. Wonderful. I'm glad I decided to read that. I wouldn't have been able to remember to pick up on that energy in this reading. That line, a side of the psyche that is actually the way through to the light, and breaking free of old habits of pessimism and negativity by allowing in different perceptions, is exactly where I've been in terms of integrating this week. I'm so grateful that sentence came up. I have been healing through the reminder that I'm not perfect, and that as this imperfect human, I have every right to release my shame, because there was no bar anyway. I'm not trying to be anything or do anything outside of me and being me. So there would be no reason for me to hold any shame at all, ever, if all I'm doing is being me. No one can tell me what the bar is of being me, because they're not me. It's just me and me. So if it's just me and me, and if it's just me on me looking at me living, me being alive, where did I get this shame from? I've asked this before in a previous reading. And I found it in my perceptions. I found it from where I'm sitting. But I think it will be very different for another person. However, I do believe that it all links to the center of a need for love, of a need for holding the soft parts of yourself. Yeah, holding the soft parts of you shamelessly. Because if I feel into the King of Cups correctly, I'm feeling into a man who is very naturally extremely emotional, and like a Cancer man or a Pisces man or even a Scorpio man. Somebody who has a very natural tendency towards being emotional, but maybe his role, his circumstances throughout life, or his own inner programmings just hold him back from being fully emotional. So exploring his emotions in general is a very dark, deep in the ocean experience for him, very all-consuming, all-encompassing. But in my case, in referencing and personalizing this, I'm also in this growth and this shift in perceptions, realizing that it didn't need to be all-encompassing, and that I am actually a lot more powerful than I realize. And it's simply in the acknowledgement of the fact that I'm in control of my life. And as I'd mentioned in that earlier rant, that me rant I just did, no one is living me but me. No one is me but me. And when I die, it's just going to be me. So allowing myself to be free through that idea. I want to tap into the Death card in reverse as well. Being free through the finality of it, through the individuality of it, through the things that would normally be depressing for me, the fact that I'm isolated, turning that loneliness into a frequency of I'm with an all-expansive world that is me. When I'm alone, I'm not just alone, I'm with myself. Awakening. This is a period of awakening, and there's a lot of resistance to it because of how painful it is. The pain is making us think that we won't make it. It hurts bad, but it hurts good, Another thing I'm pretty sure I've said before in previous reading. I'm really starting to feel lately like I'm repeating myself. And it's what's often stops me from coming on live, because I never feel like I never feel like I have anything new to say. It always feels like a recycled version of what I've said months ago this year. Also because I do like to generally read and not tap into specifics, because I think that the specifics have to do with the general frequency of the general read. So, yeah, yapping. This card in reverse speaks of thanatos, the urge towards death that lies below our normal will to live, preoccupation with death, enforced removal of old, outdated ways, inability to change, stagnation, rigidity of mind, mental death. Beneath the deck, we have the Knight of Swords and the Page of Swords and the King of Swords. Oh my God, and the Two of Swords. These are a lot of swords, Shell. Some overthinking, chronic overthinking, analysis paralysis is immediately what I'm receiving here. Something that you might be going through where you are possibly part of this emotional period of upheaval for you is happening because you insist on not reaching out to people. Guilty as charged. And because of that, it honestly seems like this insistence on isolating and like feeding into your victimhood, which is something that you are obviously likely clearing out right now. However, just so you realize that in clearing out, this business of isolating that you had done before was not, it was stagnating your growth. It was feeding into, when you're sitting in a dark room, you're cooking by yourself in that dark room. All you're cooking is your own thoughts that are sitting in that dark room. So in contrast to what I've just said about how wonderful it can be to be in isolation, it's also obviously, it goes without saying because of how relational we are as creatures, human beings. There has to be a balance to everything, which is the Justice card. There has to be a balance, and it feels like you've balanced isolation enough, and you insisting, so I'm receiving many things here, you insisting on not believing that your dreams are going to come true, you not having hope, you being doubtful, even for a second, you having distrust towards other people, you not being open to connect, you looking at the world and only seeing the chaos that's unfolding, albeit very chaotic. That's not the only version of the world that there is. And it seems like it's really up to you at this point if you want to bring in your future. Obviously, it takes time. So don't hear me say this and then change your behavior and then think that just because you start having positive vibes and affirmations for one group of 24 hours that your dreams are going to take manifest. It takes time, okay? But invest in the work, you understand? Invest. Keep going. Keep doing whatever it is, and you know you found it by now. Keep doing whatever it is that you have found that works for you. Keep going. Keep believing in yourself. Keep following your personal morals. Never give in. Do not give in. You are very clearly not giving in. Thank you for not giving in. Keep not giving in. I'm also receiving the possibility of you giving in due to these external forces that are this towards you. I'm feeling called now to tap into the Chariot, as this is the character of the person or situation that I believe is bringing out, is making you feel. I've been feeling consistently into this feeling of exhaustion and of feeling, being full of shame, feeling guilty, feeling not worthy, less than, insecure, victim-y, disempowered, all of that, you know? As in, these may be feelings you're grappling with. They may link to this period of emotional exploration. I'll call it that. This card in reverse speaks of egotism running riot, the tendency to ride roughshod over others, or alternatively, the use of a charming person hiding a steely determination to get your own way. Self-esteem and ego triumphing over the spirit. Force, aggression, habitual techniques of dealing with the world have stopped working. Lack of substance behind the mask. I'm receiving some personal. I'm specifically receiving into an intention of healing from really, really deep wounds, from really deep traumas, and that you may be somebody who is realizing how much these traumas have affected you. You may have underestimated it before, and you're coming to realizing how much you've hurted, how much have you been hurting. And with these cards together and the Two of Swords, it seems to be that all that's waiting for you now is for your life. Your life is waiting for you to just decide. Just decide, whereas you wake up every day, you feel hopeless and you feel like, when will anything come to a pass? Let me just read into this energy in particular. This energy is more like, will I be able to sincerely connect with anyone? Will any relationship will any relationship that I embark on be safe for me? Will there be any place in the world that feels safe for me? Is there anybody who can accept me for all of my flaws and dramaticisms and pessimisms and whatever, sadness, melancholy, Is there a place in the world for me to lay safely in this? You may be feeling very burdened and weighed down right now, heavy in the heart, and these cards together, these cards together are an invitation for you to try to shift that mindset and to see what happens simply from that shift in mindset. It feels like you've been doubting that. You receive the Three of Rods as well, which I believe is a card of manifestation. And then the Queen of Cups. Paired with the King is very cutesy to me, considering this yearning factor that has introduced itself through the Knight of Swords. That is to say that that is to confirm, and I think it's cute that in almost every reading I've received confirmation of this, that there are unions, wonderful unions at play, making their way to you that will make you feel safe and grounded and seen, and specifically with this match, emotionally supported, because it feels like right now is that's what you may be lacking. It is all to come. Definitely all there. And the star appears again after shuffles that you've been seeing in front of the camera. So I just think that it's about time that you start being really yourself, and not just your whole self, I love the Queen of Cups for this. This is something I'm afraid to practice in my personal life, is emotional vulnerability and just being, open, just being myself. Even through modes of feeling like I am imperfect. Accept that and know that while you are here trying to decide whether or not you are perfect, there are plenty of people in real time who love you and think you are perfect as you are. That contrast, one of them has to win. Let the fact that you are loved through everything of who you are be the thing that wins. And through that, it may be helpful in processing potentially heavy baggage and working with your mind to gain control, again. I want to just take in everything some more and see if there aren't any random ones that come up. Again, if you've watched this far, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to read for you and trusting me with providing answers for what you may be seeking. I keep getting the sense of there being an individual who behaves narcissistically, aggressively, projects onto you, more specifically for the fact that you are such a emotional, tender person, and that experience likely that past experience made you very closed off and guarded. Yeah, I'm getting the frequency of how you may be processing emotional trauma, healing from psychological abuse, and all of that mess coming up. And that's something I think I've forgotten her name, Erica someone, she's called it the difference between big T trauma and little t trauma, where big T trauma is the active, is a very huge external blunt force, like a car accident or violence directed towards you, physical violence. And then the little T traumas are the psychological abuse, the narcissistic connections, relationships. I think that is something that I'm feeling into the possibility that's a frequency you're healing from. That's something you know. And in that psychologically abusive relationship or connection or influence over your life, possibly from a caretaker, that's made you very guarded, and it's made you really, truly unable to. It's gotten in the way of your manifesting, and it's because of how that's gotten in the way of you being able to be yourself. This was the follow-up, like I'd said. So it's a return to self that you're going through right now, which is why everything is so scary, which is why other people in your life may be behaving scarily towards you, because they themselves are also going through a return to self. The devil, the remnants of wherever the devil may have been in your life is like dying, essentially. It's being released. I feel like all of this could come to a huger, it could heal more seamlessly if you just remember to accept yourself. That's very important. Do not allow yourself too long in spaces in which you are not accepted, you are not loved, in which you don't feel loved. You can push it a step further and restrict yourself to spaces that make you feel important, not just seen, but valued, prioritized, you know? I just remembered the egotism running riot interpretation of this card. And how I feel like I want to retract a little bit of what I just said, because feeding the ego isn't exactly the problem here. It's feeding the heart that's the problem. So rather, let me say, restrict yourself to places that feed your heart, that feed your spirit. I'm seeing the High Priestess peeking out of the deck here. Restrict yourself to places and experiences and people that really feed your spirit and that you can tell are good for you. Because there's also the Seven of Cups here and Judgment. The disillusionment, and as I'd mentioned early on in this reading, the disillusionments and the chaos, it's becoming crazier and crazier, for real. But we are in training, and we have our weapons, we have everything we need, we're very powerful. We got this. We just need to decide. Am I reading for a Libra? I'm a Libra tropical. I'm in both systems, actually. I'm a Libra North Node. So I get this. I understand the struggle of deciding, especially when you're so overcome with emotions and defensiveness and fear and whatever else may hinder you, put you in this position of analysis paralysis. I know exactly what the sense of that is and what a struggle it is, but it's time. Are you going to choose love or not? You're going to be fearless or not? You're going to believe in God or not? If yes, then you have to push the limits of that. You have to have faith. You have to learn how to enjoy every moment, be present. You have to be willing to be delusional. You have to be willing to look crazy. You have to be open to being the weird person, that weird guy, that weird girl, that weird they, them, that weird lover, you know? You have to be willing to be yourself. And you have to really push the limits of that. And it seems as well that you have a very special wound and fear of abandonment. You have to be willing to be abandoned. Worst thing for me to figure out how to learn, especially this year. I don't like being abandoned. I'm extremely sensitive to rejection. I take everything personally. Big thing to shed myself from. Painful stuff, really painful. Something I've also been noticing within myself is that I'm my father's daughter. I am my father's daughter. So all of this egotism running riot, a resistance to change, a stagnancy, all of that, it's bubbling up within me onto my own self. Where when I try to be hopeful and I try to open up, another inner voice, as I'd mentioned, maybe possibly experienced by you, another inner voice comes in to say, no, you're wrong. You think things are going to be okay? Are you seeing what the vibe is right now? You think this is okay? You think things like this are going to be okay? Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. I do. Stand on that. Love that inner voice that is trying to convince you otherwise and say, I get it. I understand where you're coming from, but, speak back, fight back. Don't let your inner slave master win. I think that's also another paradigm that's shifting. The slave and the master. Reminds me of a reading which I'll link, the Willie Lynch one that I've mentioned previously, done by Queen Cup Tarot. Very helpful in understanding the inner dynamics of yourself. I also just love the way she speaks. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I love the way Queen Cup reads. She reads with such a passion, and I think that's something we all need to be instilled within us again. Seems like we're losing that sense of it as well through everything, but we're gaining it. We're gaining it back. It's all coming back. And I mean ancient. We're talking ancient. The wounds that you may be processing now emotionally, even with regards to the potential narcissistic connections that you may have had and the abuse, even that you have with yourself inwardly, if you are someone who, if you don't feel securely attached to your own self, if you have attachment disorders, as we likely all do at this point, but if they're extreme, know that you're dealing with ancient wounding. You're not just dealing with some abuse that a caretaker did to you in your childhood or your parents or whatever. You're dealing with something that's a virus almost, that's been injected into us. It's not natural to live in constant fear. It's not natural to be defensive and guarded from the world. It's not natural to not trust your surroundings and to trust people you love. And to immediately assume the worst of people you don't know, that's not normal. It's not secure. And again, I'm speaking to myself when I say this. And you deserve to have an open connection with your life, a much more open, freer, loving model. You deserve a loving model experience of your life. And you always have. And whether or not you are fully locked into it at this stage, it's coming anyway. We are in very tense times. I implore you, as I finish off this reading, to please do research on Three Eye Atlas, tap into everything about that interstellar object, and whatever crazy implications and thoughts and assumptions that may come from that in terms of what's possible out there. I think that you have every room to go all the way with it, even if just to remind you how magical this experience of being alive is and always has been, and how detailed and timing the unfolding is, and how really all you've needed to ever do forever and ever, this has always been true, is to be in the moment and be true to you. Did I just rap? I just made a song. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being present. I hope you get all the wonderful vibes in your life. And I'll see you in the next reading.